In fact, I thought he would ensure that when I told Srini that I'm related to R.M. Narayana, I thought it was a settled deal that I wouldn't be invited. But then I didn't realize he was respected so much that they started chasing me even more because of the persistence of Devi. Folks, this is a great club, and it's getting stronger by the day. And when I came here, I realized one thing. I can't talk about technology because some of the best are in place, starting with my good friend and relative, Ramesh. Then, of course, Kumar. All of you like Packard is here. What do I say? But then I can tell you something, Kumar. What you said was very defining. I think the success of IT companies globally, if you see the companies that have succeeded and if you see the companies that have failed, companies which have stuck to ethics have succeeded. Companies which didn't stick to ethics, and I can mention a name, Satyam, for example, collapsed and failed. Because this company is all about trust. Running IT behind for every company is all about the trust that the company has in the company. And I think you are very right. Four-way test started with IT companies. IT companies started with four-way test as the basis around which they did their business. And that's why I think every year we get stronger and stronger, and year on year we see multiple figures in double digits as growth trajectory. Vivek Syal, who is a member of my family, I still recall the holiday that we had together in Kodaikanal not long ago. And like that, every one of you is somebody who's very special to me in this club. Prabhu, and of course, Surendra is another one of those who was so much responsible for voting me in as a governor. Thank you, Suri. I didn't have the opportunity to thank you then. Let me do it publicly now. But having said all these things, I feel like a modern-day Rip Van Winkle. I haven't been into a Rotary meeting for almost 15, 18 years. That said, I feel privileged to be back here because I found the warmth that was always there in Rotary, getting me back here to feeling good about it. The only difference between the Rip Van Winkle of then and now is he had a beard when he came out of hibernation. I had a shave this morning. But otherwise, it's basically the same. But let me, when Srini and Shanta, when they came, they gave me about 24 hours to decide on what I need to speak. And then I said, let me talk where I'm a little comfortable about. So I said, and actually when I started stitching the dots together, I got inspired by two unrelated things. But that was the basis around which I thought I should really be talking. Believe it or not, one was a nursery rhyme. The other was an English classic. Let me begin by taking you back to our nursery schools. The nursery rhyme that set the context for me today goes like this, and many of us know it. Hickory dickory dock, the mouse went up the clock. The clock struck 1, the mouse went down, hickory dickory dock. Then the story goes about the snake going up, followed by a squirrel, then a cat, a monkey, and finally an elephant. And this poem ends, hickory dickory dock, oh no, the elephant went up the clock, hickory dickory dock. Why would I say that? Because this is what happens to businesses or an organization or an entrepreneur who's completely unprepared for disruption. Let's turn to the English classic, a much read one at school during our times. And Anu, who went to Stella Maris, tells me that they neither read rhymes nor classics. So for her benefit, let me recall Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland. Would you tell me, please, which way I ought to go from here? Asked Alice. That depends a good deal on where you want to get to, said the Cheshire Cat. I don't care where, said Alice. Then it doesn't matter which way you go, said the Cheshire Cat. So long as I get somewhere, Alice added as an explanation. Oh, sure you do that, said the cat, if you only walk long enough. Now, this is what happens to businesses that don't foresee things, that are not aware of the train coming to hit them, and suddenly they feel that they are lost, the businesses collapse. This is what disruption does to our businesses these days. That is why I suggested to Shantakumar and Srini that let me touch on a few points on disrupt or get disrupted. Why did people start growing technology and start disrupting? The first is man's quest for dominance. Man's quest for dominance, he created new technologies, new products, some for constructive purposes, much for destructive purposes. Constructive purposes, a basic example would be the X-ray machine, which helped diagnose better. Destructive purposes, you created the bombs to the extent that even America dropped not one but two atom bombs on an unsuspecting Japan and ruined it forever, at least as we thought then. It was always man's quest for dominance that he created more and more technology to increase the quality of his life or command the society that he was there. What did it all lead to, and where are we heading? Juvenile as the story may be, it's quite possible that, and during my time, and I'm old, that somebody like Vivek Sial, after managing all the wealth of the world, may get into his autonomous car and then ask the car to go home. The car may well talk back to him and, sorry, Mr. Sial, I quite appreciate your desire to go back home, but your wife, Sakshi, has ordered milk in the neighborhood Nilgiris, so I've got to go and pick it up, and it's been debited to your Visa card. All this is perfectly possible this day and age during my lifetime, if not certainly during your lifetimes. This is the level of things that can happen. I'll give you an example. I don't know how many of you have heard of a guy called Josiah Wedgwood. Not a great guy, but Wedgwood was somebody who transformed one aspect of our lives. Yeah, you said it right, huh? You said something? Okay. He was a principal driver of the rapidly increasing demand for pottery in the 18th century. He changed the way pottery was produced with his invention of porcelain. That dramatically transformed how porcelain, that entire industry changed. Now, Wedgwood successfully took control of this by creating a market for things never before needed or even desired. And this is what tells you, ride the power of disruption or get obsolete. Disruption normally is a bad word. How many times many of us have been thrown out of class for disrupting the class? At least I have been. But today, in the context of technology, disruption is the greatest word that you have. Let me give you a fundamental example of technology disruption. Something that you and I can easily relate. Telephone. The most disruptive of technology was when Alexander Graham Bell had developed the telephone. He had a patent, and he offered it to the largest telecommunication company in the world back then for all of $100,000. They declined it because they said they would rather look at expanding the existing communication business, which was the telegraph. The company, the largest telecommunication company in the world in 1878, today is the same company and is called Western Union. That company are not in telecom today. They are in the business of money transfer. Why? Because the telephone completely disrupted their business. Now, number of businesses that survive disruption is zero. From simple ice making to agriculture. So when bankers like Mr. Sial tell me that they will survive, I only sympathize with them. Because the branch banking is increasingly going down. And I have on my board former managing director of State Bank, Pradeep, who is also a member of the Banking Bureau board and select CEOs of banks. And Pradeep says if staff now say we want to go on strike, we actually welcome it because it lowers their expenses. They don't need branch banking anymore. So technology has come, disrupted, changed banking forever. In fact, I remember going to, when Karishma, my daughter-in-law, wanted me to bung in some money into her debit card, and I went to a neighborhood branch in Edison, New Jersey, Wells Fargo branch. I was actually received with Coke, sweets, chocolates, cookies, everything. They've never had a footfall there. You know, that's how banks have transformed. And I remember how I had to stand in a queue, collect a token to wait for my money. So that's the power of disruption that we are seeing. And in fact, Jack Ma summarized it best. I was watching on CNN, like many of us try to find out where we can put our money and lose it in the stocks. So Jack Ma was asked, if you have to increase 10,000 customers every month, what would be your business plan? If it were, say, Walmart or somebody, they would have had to arrange a land parcel, warehouse,